Jonah. And Cynthia and Sandra. Well, today I want to preach something very specific, and the subject is how to slow down and enjoy life. And the reason I want to talk about that is life moves at such a fast pace. I believe enjoying life is a forgotten spiritual skill. This is a fifth part of a series I've been teaching, spiritual skills. And there are skills when we think about prosperity, when we think about health. There are identifiable skills that we can practice to attract the ideas that we want in our life. Okay? If a hectic lifestyle is the norm for you, that is not God's plan. Okay? I understand the world is changing and the world moves fast, but understand a hectic lifestyle is a lifestyle. It's a style of life that a person has adopted and accepted, and it can be changed. This is not news because Scripture says, remember the Sabbath day. Keep it holy. Okay, that may sound ancient and archaic to you, but it's basically the ancient archaic way of saying, take care of yourself. You know, it's believed that this commandment originated with Moses to keep holy the Sabbath day. But it has been discovered that earlier civilizations always cherished 1 out of 7 days to rest. And a lot of what's incorporated in the Hebrew Bible, what we know as the Old Testament in Christianity, is really a rewriting of something earlier on that was revealed to men and women. And so a regular day of rest has long been observed as a part of human nature. For those of you who are young, you don't remember this, but when I was a teenager, stores were closed on Sunday. Okay, it was the law. Okay, it was a relaxing day. You know, the kids today have iPods, which are great, and I love my technology. I love my phone. I love my laptop. But when I was growing up, there was this thing called outside. Okay? And I live in a neighborhood that is a block from an elementary school. It is a block from Shadow Lawn Elementary School down in Miami. And there are hundreds of children on my block, and nobody plays anymore. Nobody throws a football. Nobody plays tag. Nobody plays hide and seek. But I am sharing with you today that a slower paced life and a childlike life is a part of being grown up and spiritually mature. Okay, I understand the responsibilities. I run a church. I'm in a doctorate program. I have the opportunity to balance in ways that I don't even know how I do it, but I will tell you a few practical steps today. The first thing I want you to know is a better day begins with our morning. A slower paced life begins with a little peace in the morning. I don't care if it is 5 minutes. You know, even when I practiced law and had calendar calls a lifetime ago, that was another life, I always made time to take my time in the morning. Because I know for me, if I want to ruin my day, all I have to do is rush out of the house in a frenzy. If I start the day off in those 20 minutes and don't, take that breath, I know it just snowballs into every experience and conversation and relationship I have in that day. And so enjoying life begins with enjoying the beginning of the day. Ways to do this are simply walk outside and have the cup of coffee. Walk outside. We live in the tropics. You realize that, right? That we live on a postcard. That 49 other states take their whole year's savings and max out their charge card to spend 5 days down here. Okay, ask your neighbor when was the last time they were at the beach. Come on. I don't hear you. I hear a lot of mumbling. Okay? A walk on the beach is one of the most healthiest, God-centered experiences you can do. Okay? It is a spiritual skill that says, I take care of me, and then I take care of the world. God's will for each of us is a greater appreciation for life today. A greater appreciation for life today is the will of God. One thing that, it says is by the seventh day, Genesis, the 2nd chapter, 2nd verse, God finished the work he had been doing, and he rested from his work. Then God blessed the 7th day, made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating he had done. Okay? If we think about the metaphysical interpretation, here we look at Scripture as it is not Time magazine. It is not CNN.com, where it's reporting on a current event. It is not a fairy tale where we look at it and think about, long time ago. We look at Scripture metaphysically, which means beyond the physical words. We understand it as traits and characters and beliefs and attitudes and thoughts and ideas that we have. And so when we look at this 7th day, 7 is always the number of spiritual completion. Always it's the number of spiritual completion. And if we think about why 7 days, why not 9, why not 12, why not 4? Because divine mind, the mind of God, in all of creation had 6 moving stages, 6 moving periods of doing, followed by being. We are human beings. And the greatest power we can have at times is to be in the presence of God and stop trying to do so much. This is a law that is in all of creation, in all of nature. There is the ebb and the flow of tides. In weather, there is storms and there is calm. In all of our lives, there is a time for being, a time for doing, and I tell you, when we focus on being 1/7 of the time, we are 70 times more effective with everything we do. You must have experienced, like I have, those frazzled days where you knew you could have done better if only you would have just stopped and taken a breath. If only you would have just thought about it first. You see, when you look at slowing down, it's a spiritual skill. Enjoying life is a spiritual skill. Being is a spiritual skill. And in the 12th chapter and the 2nd verse of Romans, it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. To be transformed, it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. I understand, the daily calendar. I understand what it's like to have to manage a calendar and a schedule. Yet each one of us has the intelligence and wisdom to choose our priorities. Each one of us has the authority to be able to say to myself, my mind now rests from activity for 5 minutes. This is not a fantasy. This is the way to create a healthy life. And it's a way of understanding God is infinite, but each of us are one channel. You know, we make decisions and we prioritize so much, but too often we allow others and outside influence to prioritize our life. And then we end the day or we end the experience feeling frustrated. I want you to remember something. Saying yes to one thing means we are saying no to another area of our life. For example, if we say yes to that extra meeting, then we are saying no to spending an evening with our children. If we say yes to someone else's lack of planning that created an emergency on their part, we are saying no to our own relationships that we want to prioritize and cherish. The skill is to learn to simply say no thank you to what is not God's calling on your life. See, it's not just enough to slow down. We have to change our mind. We have to change our mind about what's important today. Okay, clearly it is important to take care of ourselves, but spiritual rest does not mean doing nothing. It means choosing an activity that celebrates the power and presence of God in us. It means choosing a moment where we choose to simply breathe. It may mean to experience a moment with someone else, and for another moment, it may be to experience the moment alone. But it is a choice that we make. See, no matter what we're going through, the greatest gift that God gave us is the gift of our breath. Everyone feel it. If you're feeling stress over anything, you always have the power. Breathe with me. Consciously. And then release. Just focusing on exhaling. That can reinvigorate us in that very moment. Our life is a partnership with God, church. Entering into a partnership, you're not having here to do it all alone. Whatever the situation you're going through or growing through, there is always the presence of God there. If there is a conflict in a relationship, breathe and rest. If there is a challenge at work, breathe and rest. If there is a health challenge, speak to the body and let God do God's part. You know, it is a privilege for each one of us to be as free as the birds, as the flowers. Scripture says they toil not, neither do they spin. But recognize the birds and the flowers are always respectful to their divine character. For the birds, for the flowers, for all of nature, every day is a Sabbath. They live in holy omnipresence, and it is our freedom to do the same. I invite each and every one of you to remember that this week. That is your privilege to live in holy godness in every day. That we are all here to experience God, and one of the greatest ways to experience God is true rest. God created each of us to enjoy our life and to celebrate the power of God in us. And this, I rest with you this morning. You cannot rush or force or exert your way to God, but God is always one breath away. And this is a spiritual skill that will transform every day that follows. And so it is, and it shall be. God bless you, and thank you, everyone.